Welcome to Unscripted, a Siena Hoops podcast. I'm a Siena senior, Carter Gooley.
And I'm Siena sophomore Joe Lemery, and we're here to bring you the inside scoop on Siena's NIL collective, Saints March On.
Hear from players, coaches, and more as we bring you the X's and O's of the Siena men's and women's basketball teams.
So sit back and enjoy. All right, so we're here with Coach Carmen Maciariello and Scott Noel, who's an NIL board member, and welcome to Unscripted, the Siena Hoops podcast. Scott is filling in for Carter, who is currently at a wedding. Well, Carm, as always, we're happy to have you here. Scott, why don't you get us started with things?
So, Carm, as we record this, we are not taking off for the Sunshine Slam yet. Congratulations on being in Florida this weekend as we freeze up here in Albany. Some positive things past weekend. Richmond and D.C., those games down there. We know what the final score was, but give us some positives from that trip down there.
Just anytime we can grow our group, it's better than practice. Obviously, you want to see when the lights turn on, who's going to show up. With this group, I thought we played, for the most part, extremely hard against Holy Cross, except for maybe the last 4 minutes. That Holy Cross team went to Georgetown and won. Then, we go to Richmond, and obviously Jordan King is there. We're excited to see him. I was a big fan. Obviously, I recruited and believed in Jordan. He was actually one of the guys we tried to get back here to Siena. And just, he wanted a higher level conference. He wanted to go to the A-10 in the Big East. He chose Richmond. Obviously, Chris Mooney does a great job. But, our guys need to grow up, and sooner rather than later. But that's what this is about. And, obviously Michael Ely still being out. We didn't have him for Richmond. We didn't have him for American. But someone has to step up. And the biggest thing, these guys have to learn lessons through games, right? You want to understand how hard you have to play. And it's not about putting anything in reserve, right? You are emptying your tank every second you're on the floor. You're not doing us any favors by playing half speed out there because you think you need to save yourself for the second half or even for the next play, right? Every single play, have to empty the tank, have to be able to guard. And that's the one thing we've really struggled with through our analytics. We want to be able to guard the ball one-on-one, and we want to have a success rate around 68%. We're not even at 40% success rate in terms of guarding the ball. So that for us is our mindset, our mentality, our toughness, just being able to guard the guy in front of us.
The analytics is so cool. It's a completely different world. Maybe we should start doing an analytics segment. That sounds pretty cool. You could do 5 minutes on analytics. Maybe you could bring something every week and let us know something about analytics. It's super cool.
Well, it goes so deep, and the numbers, it's all a numbers game. And so how much prep do you have to put into the numbers and the stats going into this?
We just have a grading process afterwards. So, anytime there's a ball screen, right, you have the coverage from the 5-man and whoever's guarding the ball, right? So that's the on-ball coverage. But then the other 3 guys have to be in the proper positioning. So we grade that. That's every time the ball moves. You want to make sure guys are in the proper position, which is really good. At the end of the day, guys have to just take pride in their one-on-one defense. You can look at analytics all you want, but I can tell you we didn't do a good job just when I'm standing on the sideline watching the game. Hey, Zach Tekken's, tired. He's not pressuring the ball. The key to any team and any defense or any offense, that first time you pick up the ball and guard the ball, you're setting the tone for that whole defensive possession. Yeah. And then in turn, that first pass or that first cut or that first screen on offense, you're setting the tone for that offensive possession. So that's the key for us. And, you look at guys that we missed on in recruiting. Jalen Young is at Memphis. Micah Adams-Woods was a package deal with a prep school coach and a former prep school teammate of that coach to Bonaventure. You look at Samir Torrance, he went to Binghamton, and there was a package involved there. Joe Girard's at Clemson. All guys that I had relationships with and we had identified. I mean, Mayer Panome at Tulane from Norcross High School in Georgia. Some of these guys just went to the highest level, and there's nothing you can do about that. And our goal with this team was to be able to get them to understand these are the guards we have. This is how we have to play to be successful within that system. And then you go back, we didn't want to just take a guy, right? We only had one scholarship. I actually technically do not have a scholarship right now. We wanted to find the right guard that fit us, and that was JoJo Moore. We identified him, we found him, and then we understood, hey, well, if we use that scholarship, well, now we have to make sure we had a scholarship in that class. If I use that scholarship on a guy that had more than 1 year eligibility left, we wouldn't have had a scholarship in that class technically for 2024. So there was some strategy involved with that. You know, you want to find the guys that fit you. And a lot of times a point guard is the most precise position, because if you take the wrong guy, and now usually those one-year guys are hired guns, right? They're coming in, they want to get stats, they want to have an opportunity to play professionally somewhere. Well, I'm not sacrificing the team to get a one-year guy that may put up great stats, but in the end, you need everybody rowing the boat in the same direction.
And you mentioned with the point guard position, Zach Tekken is in that spot right now. How much confidence do you have in him and his ability going forward during the season?
Yeah, Zach's getting better every day. You know, that's the biggest thing is, you know, you want to grow him, and the best way to grow him is through confidence. And now I am hard on our guys, and it's funny. I tell the radio guys, you know, I tell Emmanuel and you know,
Connor was there last night.
yeah, and Connor, you know, he was with us, and I basically said, fellas, like, you know, 18 minutes against American, we played pretty good. We played that style of basketball we had to play to be successful. You know, we got a 6-point lead, and then we relaxed. And then the last 2 minutes and a half, I said, you know, we have to be better. Our point guard has to communicate. He has to run the show. That's just what we tell our guys. I meet with our guys. I'm going into, by the time this thing airs, I'll have met with our guys on a one-on-one basis for the third time since the season started with non-negotiables of, hey, this is what we need from your position and this is your job. I would hope the fans appreciate my candor that I'm telling the team exactly what I'm telling them after the games. Hey, this is where we have to get better. There's no gray area. This is what has to be done. If we want to win a basketball game, we have to do this. And then we can go back to the analytics too and say the numbers prove it. You know, last night, so, you know, obviously this is being filmed now, but against American, we only had a Bernie, which is 3 stops in a row, one time. One. It means we didn't defend well enough, right? We talked about the one-on-one defense. So now it's, hey, against Holy Cross, we had 6 Bernies. And Ernie's, right? Take the B off of Bernie. You got Ernie. Those are times we get 2 stops in a row. We've had multiple of those. So you had opportunities for more Bernies. You're not guarding at a high level if you only have one in a 40-minute game. So and hey, it starts with whoever's on the floor. You have to take pride in that.
Talk to us about the block shots. The team this year, athletically, the team looks bigger and more athletic. Although raw, it's just sort of like a 2-year-old thoroughbred, right? Like so many block shots this weekend. Is that guys getting beaten and then that's the recovery, or is this? Do you look at that as a positive?
You know, I look at it as a positive that we're able to block shots. Now, obviously, like you said, we don't want to get beat off the bounce. Our goal is to make teams take tough twos. Now, it's nice to have Giovanni, Max, Ojo, Killian. All 4 of those guys can play the 4, and 3 of them can play the 4 and the 5. Obviously, Gio only plays the 5. Gio's only been playing basketball 4 years. Wow. So, you know, we want to get him to develop. We want to get him to grow. And then we need somebody to step up and have a voice for this team. It can't just always be myself and the staff trying to get these guys up, right? They have to understand this is Siena basketball. Everyone wants to take a shot and try to kick you when you're down and have a chance to beat you. You know, it was great. We had about a party of about 50 alums that came to our game at AU, which was great. So it's just, you know, like I said, we're going to keep working. That's all this thing is about is we have to put in the work, and the guys have to understand, like I said, how hard they have to play.
And time will only tell, but we've certainly seen plenty of examples in the past where a star player, and I look, sorry, my Herder family connections, we look at the Sacramento Kings, De'Aaron Fox out, so they get absolutely hammered a couple games in Houston. Other guys had to start taking on a larger role. Then De'Aaron comes back last night, and they look like championship contenders. Same thing in this. Zach Tekken was not necessarily going to have to play the role he's playing this year. Mason Courtney scoring double digits. Awesome to see the local kid doing that. That's not what the intention was, but sometimes when you take some lumps, but guys fill in their roles. When your main guy comes back, we get Ely back in the mix. Those guys, what they've done, expanding their role, helps a lot going forward.
No doubt. You know, they're getting what they need, right? They're seeing, hey, this is also what I need to get better at, right? If I want to be able to take a step forward. And then, you know, you talk about Sean Dewar-Gordon, and we're working on that appeal. You know, it's so unfortunate in today's world and today's landscape that, you know, so many people think they can send direct messages of just hateful, hurtful things, you know, racial, just hate mail.
I've seen some of those messages Sean got last year. It's
Disgusting.
Yeah, so, we're making sure our guy's taken care of, regardless if he gets the waiver or not, we're behind him 110%. But, we're confident. We did not just all of a sudden think, hey, we're going to get this kid and the NCAA doesn't have rules, right? We know there was protocol. We know there was a process to go through. That's why the NCAA does have waivers. That's why they do have an appeal process. So we're making sure we're doing everything. But we knew going in, we felt we had a chance with who we had talked to, compliance, attorneys. We weren't just, flying by night, being reckless, thinking that the rules didn't apply to us. Obviously, we also wanted to better Sean's life, and we thought we had an opportunity where we would get a young man from Harlem back here in New York near his family at a place that, I went to and you guys went to that, is capable of growing people.
Absolutely.
So for me, it's bigger than basketball.
It's amazing you say that point. It is bigger than basketball, and everybody wants to win games. You also want to develop good human beings at the same time. 2009, the Double Onions game, we have a dinner, December 2nd. The Saints March On is putting together a dinner with Ronald Moore, Alex Franklin, Edwin Ubelis, etc. Coming back for that night down at Prime. SaintsMarchOn.com for more information. But I was on a call with Frank Ambrose, who runs the collective, myself and Frank and Ronald Moore and Alex Franklin. And they both talked about the same things that I experienced living in the townhouses where we have friendships. There's 5 of us got together 30 years after we graduated last March at the MAC tournament. And we still do that kind of stuff. And Ronald and Alex said we still have a text chain of those guys from 2009 who are still in touch every single week. At least once every single week, we're all texting one another. And that's a great thing about Siena College in general. And it was very heartening to hear that that's how the basketball team also operates. And it's good to see that Sean's a part of that. No matter what happens this year, we'll get Sean next year. And it's good to see that he's a part of that, growing into a good human being and being a part of that group.
Yeah, he's he's just a tremendous kid. He's actually working on trying to make sure he's doing everything he can to get his degree. He wants to make sure he has his degree because that's what it's about, right? He didn't come here for basketball. He came here to get an education, to feel like he was in an environment that was going to be, inclusive, and he was going to feel appreciated. And, I think he likes his teammates. And now it's, hey, he's been a little quiet because he's not sure the appeal is going to go through. I said, Sean, you got to help these guys. These are young guys. You've been through it. You were at Missouri. You were at Austin P. You've had a different life than these guys had. You need to explain to them, how hard they have to work and how thankful they have to be. And we have a great group of guys. It's funny, Madison Townley, our academic advisor, was on the road with us this weekend. And so, I think our guys got more work done, when we were in Richmond on Thursday night and then in D.C. Saturday night and then Sunday and Monday. I think our guys got more work done, and just being on the road than they do all week. But, I also think it's important Madison sees these guys outside the academic and athletic building, right? Outside the, brand new center we have for academics in the Guido Center. So, she gets to see these guys. She gets to see how we interact with them, how I say good morning to every single one of them when they get on the bus at 6:45 when we have to go to the airport, right? There's no time to feel sorry for ourselves. It's, hey, you have to get better, and that's okay. That's what life's about. Life's about getting punched in the face and getting back up and punching back and getting after it.
Yeah, and so let's talk about, I don't think we touched on it yet, Ty Owens, Ty Owens scholarship. Can you fill us in that one?
Yeah, so he's remote. Ty's he's remote right now, and obviously we wanted him to get healthy. When we recruited him, we thought he was going to be able to play, and he's just had a couple different knee surgeries, and so now he's down in Georgia, rehabbing with his people. We let him go remote, and then he's going to see, what he's going to do. So hopefully we wish him the best, but I don't see the future. I'm not sure what's going to happen. But, obviously that's unfortunate. Obviously, we always try to do a good job, and that's why it's important we recruit walk-ons as well. Mason Courtney, like you alluded to earlier, I think can be a nice piece for us. And we want guys to be solid role players too. Every team has guys that have different jobs, and not one job is more important than the other. And so it's about guys understanding, and that's also where my one-on-one meetings come with them. Hey, this is what's expected of you. why haven't you done this? Or, hey, you're doing this, I need you to do more of that, right? So, and it's about giving of themselves, right? It's about guys understanding if it's, a part of the whole. And that's what they have to understand. It takes all those little parts to make up the whole. And once guys understand that and guys are sharing the ball and giving it up and, emptying their tank, I can't say that enough. Don't worry about the next possession. Do the best you can this possession. If you can't run down the floor, that means you gave it all you got that defensive possession.
So I got a question for you, Coach. I mean, I work with the girls team a lot as a manager.
2-0, I love it.
Yes, we're cruising right now.
We're gonna get to that in a second, Joe.
Yeah.
You get to be the next guest.
So it's interesting because Coach Jaber talks about it all the time. There's always something that's seems to be holding back players sometimes. Do you, as a coach, what do you feel is holding back these players from truly taking that next leap?
You know what? That's a great question. I think it's more or less them just thinking about themselves as opposed to what's needed for the team, right? Just understanding, hey, this isn't high school anymore. Mm-hmm. This isn't about you. This is about mental focus. This is about understanding the scouting report. This is about realizing you have to sprint and get comfortable being uncomfortable. And we tried to do that all summer. We tried to do that in the preseason. And now we're going to do it all this week, so and it's not going to change. But these guys being able to push themselves.
It's a different level, And talk a little bit about what you guys did this summer. I know you guys did a ton.
Yeah, so we talked about it last time, a little bit with the Navy SEAL training, but that was intense. We had log poles. We had to make sure they were going up on one side, down the other. They had to do fireman carries where they had to carry a teammate down and back 100 yards and listen to directions. The best was the Sunday morning where they had to tread water. Some guys can't swim well. They had to tread water in the deep end, wearing a hooded sweatshirt like you're wearing right now, and they had to take that off while treading water, give it to a teammate, and then switch and put on their teammate's hooded sweatshirt. And they had to do that all in a certain time.
So I have a question. Who carried Gio?
So Gio was one of the leaders, but so guys had to tread water and try to hold him up. And you were allowed to have one arm on the side, but you still, when you got to take off a hooded sweatshirt, you don't have any arms on the side.
No.
So, but their strategy too, right? And so who was going to be able to get out of their comfort zone and help their teammates even when they were uncomfortable?
Working together, finding a way.
So I always talk about that. And Major Mack, who's the former SEAL who did tours, and he was a college football player. And he sends us videos before games, and so I'm doing everything, and the staff's doing everything we can to continue to build these guys. But we got guys that are just young, and there's no other way to get better than just throwing them to the wolves. Now they got to bite back, and they got to scratch and claw and fight. And I thought we saw that more in the American game, but when it's all said and done, there is no recipe other than going through that embarrassment of losing games on the road like that. I mean,
That's a huge motivator. It's a huge motivator.
Yeah.
You get your butt kicked. You don't want that to happen again.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Sometimes it is the biggest reason for your success down the line is when you hit rock bottom, lead you to be on top eventually.
Yeah. Well, hopefully there's no rock bottom. Hopefully we're on the way back. But
One game away from 500, buddy. One game away from 500.
Exactly.
early season, got to get Michael Ealy healthy. As of right now, he's good. He's progressing nicely. I left him back when we went on that trip. In case he got better miraculously, we would have flown him down for the American game. But we want to take our time. We want him to be able to, underwater treadmill. We want him to be able to, lift weights. We want him to just not have any issues because we don't want that thing to linger.
Yeah.
So I got a question for you, lighter side of things. Next week, Thanksgiving. Players don't go home, or do they go home for Thanksgiving? They stay here?
No, so
Are you cooking?
no. Angelo Mazzone's cooking. So yeah, we'll have Mazzone Hospitality. We'll cater some meals to my parents' home actually, because with 3 little kids running around, I can't. My wife would kill me. So she's excited because now we just get to go to my parents, and the guys will get to enjoy it. We got staff's families around. Some of our players' families are coming to town. So just excited for that. Obviously excited to play Central Michigan in the first round of the Sunshine Slam here on Monday.
Albany Cup on Sunday, November 26th.
Sunday, yep. So and that's really want to get Michael back for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we can't lose that one. Yeah. Sorry. Joe, let's talk about no losses. The women's team. Joe not only hosts this show, Carm, I don't know if you could stick around. Maybe you have a good question for Joe. Joe is the team manager for the women's team. I see team managers all the time who've coached or managed Siena basketball teams through the years. I'll be honest, I don't know what the heck you guys do all the time after all these years. What do you do?
So it's not as complex as you would think. It's straightforward. You fill waters for them, you wipe the floors when needed, and we all report to director. Ours is Morgan Roach, and for you guys, I think it's John
Pickett.
Yeah, Pickett. Yep. And so basically, we're an extension of the director. So we're helping him out as best we can, and just being there for the players. For me personally, I started off as a practice player. So I also practice with the girls. So I'm running like 3 or 4 miles of practice too. I'm out there playing defense, playing offense. I'm not that great, but I do the best I can. And we have fun with it. So yeah.
Love it. You boxing everybody out.
We do the
hard.
best. We do the best.
All right,
we can.
good.
I mean, some of them are. I'm in the gym a lot. Some of them are as strong as me. So it's impressive.
That's awesome. Good.
I would say, what's the biggest thing? What's one of your best Jim Jaber quotes?
Wow. Ooh, that's a good one.
Or Jaberism, right? What do you got?
Yeah. So, right, and Carter and I were talking about this. We want to get him on the show. Talk about a big slang that a lot of kids use these days is like no cap, which is like no lies or whatever. And he'll say it in practice to make fun of the girls, and he'll just like when we're breaking it down or whatever, we always do this thing where we're like family on three, 1, 2, 3, family. And before we do that, he'll be like, so we're gonna be great today, right? No cap, no cap. It's just like he's funny. He's very serious, but he's funny when he wants to be, and it lightens the mood off. It's really good.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
Women's team 2-0.
Yeah. I know. They've impressed me a lot. The growth from last year to this year is just outstanding. So I think the sky's the limits for them. I'm excited to see how we do come March, April when the MAC tournament is around.
Well, we got Penn and Merrimack coming up, right?
Yes. So we got Penn on the 19th. I'm not sure about Merrimack, but Penn's our first home game in the UHY Center. So hopefully we get some good turnout for fans. But I'm excited. It's going to be great. It'll be my first game. I haven't traveled on the road for the first 2 games, but I'm very excited, yeah.
Beautiful. Coach, thanks for joining us. Joe, why don't you wrap things up? I don't want you to be too late for Kelly O'Donnell's class.
Yeah.
So go ahead, wrap us up. Let's see what you learned so far.
Thank you guys so much for joining us on Unscripted today with Coach Carm and Scott Noel filling in. I'm Joe Lemery. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.
If you would like to make an impact on our student athletes, you can visit the Saints March On website. The link will be in the description, where you can find upcoming events such as our dinner on December 2nd to celebrate Onions Double Order. And also you can find our Pledge Per campaign for our men's and women's basketball teams, where you can donate for every 3-pointer or every win, or you can make a one-time donation. Thank you. Another event coming up is the Albany Cup on November 26th, Sunday at 5 p.m. Get your tickets now.
Thank you for joining us on this edition of Unscripted. We hope to see you next time.
Before we go, we'd like to give a few shout-outs to WVCR, the St. Siena College's radio station, for letting us use their station for this episode, Scott Noel and Frank Ambrose, and all of our guests that joined us for this episode.